because I am all about that cozy life. I'm going to give myself a weekend to just relax and do nothing. I did want to give you a GI health update. It all comes back to stress, doesn't it? For a while, creative writing became the new grad school. Constantly writing, constantly producing, constantly thinking. I'm in this in-between space creatively. I'm not yet ready to dive back into that world, but I'm so ready to write. Good morning and welcome to the weekend. Welcome to fall break. Oh, I need this so bad. Welcome if you're new here. Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm a full-time university writing instructor who is currently on fall break for the semester. I'm also a content creator and indie author. Welcome back if you're one of my lovely returning friends. It is great to have you all here. It is 6:17 on Saturday, October 12th, as I am filming this. I'm just waiting for the sun to come up a little bit more before I can go out for my morning walk. It is a beautiful 69 degrees. Oh, so exciting. I'm wearing a hoodie here indoors just because I'm wanting to stay snuggly and cozy. I'm not sure. I'll probably bring it with me, but I'm sure within 2 minutes. I'm sure bringing it with me is wishful thinking because I'm sure within 2 minutes it's going to be tied around my waist. I think we've almost seen the back of triple-digit temperatures. If you're new here, I live in the Phoenix Valley in southern Arizona, so it gets hot here. It should be a beautiful walk this morning. I think once we start getting lows in the 50s, I will be able to walk with my hoodie on, which will excite me greatly because I am all about that cozy life. And that is one of the themes of this vlog. I'm gonna vlog today and tomorrow, and I'm gonna vlog this first half of fall break. I do have work that I need to do, personal work that I need to do over fall break. I do want to take advantage of having 2 days off, and I cannot believe we are already halfway through the semester and it is fall break. My students and I were talking about this all week this week because I was doing conferences with them, and several of them agreed that we can't believe it's October, we can't believe it's mid-October and it's fall break. We feel like it was just September and we were just starting back in August. I still feel like it's September and that the semester started only a few weeks ago, but we are technically we're 7.5 weeks in, so it's the 7th full week, but I count it as week 8 because I count the first week that was only 2 days because that was my first week working full time. So it's just wild. It's just wild. I can't believe that we're halfway through the semester and it's fall break already, but I have been counting down to fall break pretty much since the semester started because it's just been such a full-on and exhausting summer. Exaggerated partly by the fact that I've been frantically trying to put the finishing touches on my 8th book, and that is now about to be published. I still have the proof copy right by me. I'm just so excited for this. So yeah, it's been a semester. I feel like it's been a whole semester. This is the other thing. On the one hand, I feel like it was only just September and it can't possibly be October. On the other hand, I feel like it's been 16 weeks and I'm ready for winter break. So time is doing something weird this semester. And so I just really need a break. So even though I have work to do, I'm not going to do it today or tomorrow. I'm going to give myself a weekend to just relax and do nothing and just really, truly rest. I want to do a lot of reading. I want to watch TV and just kind of zone out. I do need to edit a vlog, and then I'll edit this one on Monday and Tuesday. Since I don't have to work, I can edit this one on Monday and Tuesday. But it is starting to get a little bit later out, and I've got about 7 minutes. I might even leave now. I think it is getting bright enough. I think by the time I get my shoes on, get my water bottle, get my stuff together, it will be bright enough. So without any further rambling, because we know that's what I do best, welcome to the vlog. Get comfy, get cozy, settle in, and let's start this off with a beautiful sunrise walk. Okay, it is now later in the day. It is afternoon, and I'm ready to shift to my usual routine. I do want to film. You guys can let me know if you'd be interested. I do want to film a morning routine and evening routine, 2 separate videos. Probably start with the evening routine because my morning routine is only possible because of my evening routine. But I actually feel like I have routines now for the evening and the morning, and so I thought it might be fun to do that. But yeah, I am now kind of getting onto the next phase of my typical weekend routine. And so the weekend routine has kind of been, I get up, I go for my walk, I come home, I do a bunch of vlog editing and any other productive worky type bits, when there was cover design and stuff like that to do. I would try to do that in the morning so that at noon I can have lunch and then relax the rest of the day. So that's what I've done. I've mostly edited Monday's vlog. I'll finish editing it tomorrow after my walk and maybe start editing this vlog. Then I did some work on another project that I'm trying to wrap up for someone else and that I'm just long overdue on. So I just need to get that done, and then hopefully I will finish that by next weekend, and then I can start thinking about moving on to my next project, which would be nice. We can talk more about that in a little while. But first, I did want to give you a GI health update after all the tests I've done. So I mentioned them a couple vlogs ago. I also mentioned the last one I was preparing for in the last vlog. So I don't have SIBO. That one came back negative. That was the first one. I'm not lactose intolerant. That one has also come back negative. And I'm not fructose intolerant either. That came back negative. So these were the last few things that my doctor kind of realized that we hadn't tested before, but that we could. She didn't think it was likely. We were mostly focused on SIBO and fructose intolerance, and I just mentioned that I wasn't sure if I was lactose intolerant. I've been avoiding lactose or taking a lactase enzyme, Lactaid would be the name brand. I've been doing that for years now, that I've been limiting or avoiding lactose. but I wasn't sure if I was actually lactose intolerant. And so she's like, well, we can run it just to make sure. And it's negative. And so was the fructose. That was the last one that I did. That's the one that I was preparing for in the last vlog. So this past Monday, I went back to the clinic. This one was like the lactose one where they test you every 30 minutes for 3 hours. The SIBO test was every 20 minutes for 2 hours. So that one was faster. And yeah, I had no reaction. Like, I didn't feel anything. Looking at the test results, I get both a message from my doctor saying the test is negative, but I also get a copy of the actual test results and like all the numbers. I did have more of a response to the fructose than I did. I assume that's normal. I assume most people's bodies have some sort of reaction. Like, the lactose was like no reaction. Like nothing, none of the numbers. It was pretty much all exactly the same as the baseline. The fructose, the numbers did go up, but nowhere near like the top end of normal. It was like still well within the middle of the normal range. They did kind of peak about 60 minutes into the 3-hour test, and then they started going back down. So it did seem my body was processing something, but I'm assuming it's not an issue. And I didn't feel anything. Like, I didn't feel anything. Nothing that I wasn't already feeling before I got there, because I already wasn't feeling that great that day, but like that was prior to having the fructose sample. So yeah, so everything's come back negative. So I'm pretty sure that means this is IBS, and it hasn't been as bad. There were some options that we talked about, so I'm going to look into those and I will keep you updated. It just might not be for a while, but if I do end up trying any medication, or there's a type of hypnotherapy that was one, acupuncture was another, I need to look into what is covered by my insurance, so we'll see. But I will keep you all updated if there's anything I do try. But mostly it seems like I'm really gonna have to work on my stress. It all comes back to stress, doesn't it? Like, it really does. And I feel like going back to the whole like life at 40 or life in our 40s, others of you who are in your 40s, especially other women, you can chime in. And for those of you who are younger, take notes, because I feel like it's coming. But my body does not process stress the way that it used to. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I could go through much more stressful situations than anything I'm dealing with right now, really. Like, I think back to when I worked in costume design and the amount of physical stress and like mental and emotional stress that I put myself under when doing a show. Oh my God, there's no way. There is no way I could do that right now anymore. Like, it would not work. I would collapse. I would have to be hospitalized. There is no way my body could go through that. And it's not just because now I have fibromyalgia and back then I didn't. It really is just part of, like, fibromyalgia aside, like, even if I didn't have that, I think it would still be impossible for me to do the level that I did. Like, I'd have to be in a completely different costume setup. I'd have to have like a full shop with full staff and assistants and costume technicians. For those of you who don't know, or if I haven't talked about it in a while, I used to work as a costume designer, but always educational and community theater. I never made it that far professionally, but I loved it. I really, really did. But I was always working in incredibly low budget situations, especially when I was working as a costume designer. I've worked for larger professional theaters as a costume technician, as the person who's sewing the costumes, but not as a costume designer. Every time I've been hired to be the designer for the show, it's always been educational community theater. So it's a stipend that's not an actual salary. You're basically a paid volunteer. It's a lot of long hours and late nights and very little skilled help. I'd have volunteers on a lot of shows, and I did get lucky. There were a couple shows where I had some really good people, some really wonderful, motivated young students who knew how to follow directions and who could take initiative, who once I taught them how to do something, they just did it. And oh my gosh, those shows were just the best. They were still really stressful, but they were the best whenever I had like really good help. But then there were other shows where like I had really well-meaning volunteers who could barely even sew on a button. And so like that experience was really, really stressful, but my body handled it better, sort of. It didn't feel like it at the time, but looking back, I can just see like I could bounce back from it a lot faster. Like getting one good weekend's worth of sleep the week after the show opened and closed, and I'd be fine. I'd be back to normal again. I just don't handle stress as well anymore, and my body doesn't handle anxiety as well. And I feel like I'm getting, and this is a separate conversation that we might have in a future video, but I feel like my anxiety is getting significantly worse, but the triggers aren't worse. Like there's nothing causing the anxiety is just happening. There's not like a situation that I can see, this is why I feel anxious. Like the situations are all normal things that I've been through a million times before, like publishing the book. I've been here 7 other times. I know exactly what's going on. I know what needs to happen. This isn't anything new, but it feels so much more anxious. I feel so much more anxious. And so I'm just starting to realize that as I'm getting older, my body can't process stress and anxiety in the same way that it used to. And that's not nice. It's not a good feeling. And so I feel like that is probably part of why the IBS was flaring up at the beginning of the year. It might have been partially connected to starting the new school year, or the new semester rather, and other stuff that was going on. And I don't know, like back then I was thinking about turning 43, and maybe there was some subconscious. I just feel like I can look back, and this is why I started going to see the doctor, because it was like I don't feel like there's anything going on that should be causing the stress response of my IBS, but my IBS is getting worse and I didn't understand why. And now I'm starting to realize throughout this year that like, no, I am feeling a lot more anxious, and I'm starting to get the physical symptoms of anxiety, even though I feel like the situations and the circumstances in my life don't warrant the level of anxiety response that I'm having. And so I think going forward, to manage the IBS, I have to start changing how I approach stress and anxiety, being more proactive with things like doing yoga and some form of meditation. And I do feel like this is why it's really important to get back into writing. And I'll talk about like writing and my plans for making plans for the next project. We'll talk about that later in this vlog. But I do think that like getting back into writing is going to be really important, because writing is meditative for me. I'm horrible at traditional meditation. I can't just sit in silence and clear my mind. It just doesn't work. Even with like a guided meditation on an app or something, I can kind of do those, but nothing beats going for a walk, going for a hike, writing, things like that. And so like now that we're coming into autumn and the book is about to be published, I'm about to be able to start hiking again, and I'm about to start getting back into a daily writing routine again. I hope that that's going to make a big difference. And now that I know that I can get through a whole summer walking, like now that I'm got my body waking up at 5:30 in the morning, I do think that next summer will be a little bit better, will be as good as this one has been, if not a little bit better, because I'll be able to get up and go for a walk throughout the summer, and that has made a huge difference. And I do think that that's why my IBS it got better by the end of the semester, and like going to England, it was fine the whole time I was in England. And I think the fact that I was able to continue walking is what kept it from getting worse again throughout the summer, because normally it does get worse in the summer because I'm stuck indoors and I'm not able to be as active. That's the kind of IBS update. I do think it is IBS, and so now going forward, the plan is going to be looking into my options more, but I just also think generally learning how to manage my stress and my anxiety better and just being more intentional about that than I've had to be in the past, I think is going to be really important. Anyway, it's almost 1:30. I've had a lovely morning of my walk, vlog editing, nice long shower, took an everything shower, I've washed my hair, I've done full skincare. It's been amazing. I've had a yummy breakfast. I did pop out to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription, and now like everything that I felt like needed to be done today has been ticked off my list. And so now I'm ready to spend the rest of the day just reading. I'm still reading Sunyi Dean's The Book Eaters, which I started reading like a few vlogs ago, and I meant to give you all an update. My goal is to try to finish that book this weekend in this vlog. I'm now getting behind on the reading goals I'd set for October. So I really want to get that book read. I'm going to try to get a little more than halfway through it today and then get the rest of the way through it tomorrow. I'm gonna go get snugly cozy on the couch. So yeah, I'm gonna go put on like moody, atmospheric, slightly eerie ambiance video on YouTube and just get cozy on the couch and spend at least the next 3 hours. That would take me up to 4:30. Yeah, at least the next 3 hours reading and just escaping into what so far seems like a very, very interesting world. Okay, it is Sunday. It's been a beautiful Sunday so far. The weather was gorgeous this morning on my walk. I didn't go for as long of a walk as I did yesterday. I might have overdone it yesterday. So I'm just feeling a little bit extra tired and sleepy, and yeah, I wanted to get out there for a walk, but I did not want to overdo it. So yeah, I enjoyed a nice shorter walk in the beautiful morning weather. I just can't wait until it's that temperature all day long. Hopefully about 4 to 5 weeks from now, that should be where it's starting to be, which also like 4 to 5 weeks from now, that will be that'll be almost when Damson's here. This semester, I'm telling you, I cannot believe, like I literally cannot believe, I think I've already said this in this vlog, but I cannot believe that it's fall break. This semester is just flying by, but it is fall break, and I am enjoying that greatly. As I get older, I just realize the importance of time off. And when I was younger, and like I know earlier in this vlog I was telling you about like when I used to work in costume design, and like that was definitely a time where breaks were fewer and farther between, and it was a lot more pedal to the metal, just going, not really taking a lot of time off, and then getting to a point where I would just kind of crash and take like a week to just relax, and then I would start the cycle all over again. And I'm not able to do it that way anymore. Like I have to be taking more time off throughout each day and throughout each week. Like I used to be able to work from like 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. with barely any breaks. I would just work. I'd be sewing, I'd be running errands for shows, going to different fabric stores and thrift shops and costume rental places and trying to find stuff for the show, and then going back to the costume shop and sewing all day, and then doing a rehearsal, and then, or just coming home once rehearsal was done. Like, I'd work in the theater until rehearsal was done and they were closing the theater, and then I'd go home, but I would continue sewing until at least midnight. But some mornings, especially closer to tech week, I'd work until like 4 or 5 a.m., get up and be back at the costume shop by like 10. So like I could never do that anymore. It just would not work. And so I think that's part of why I never questioned my work habits and the things that were leading to burnout during grad school, because grad school still felt so easy compared to costume design. It just, you know, sitting at home and reading a book or writing on my laptop just was so much less physically demanding than running around a costume shop and running around a theater. And so yeah, I think by the time I got to grad school, it felt easier than costume design did, because it was less manual labor than working in theater and working in costumes. And so I never questioned problematic habits in grad school that then definitely have continued post graduation. And I'm realizing now, as I'm getting into writing, like I feel like for a while creative writing became the new grad school. It became the research, the writing. It was all very similar, and it felt similar, and it felt comfortable. But I was just continuing to stay on that kind of hamster wheel of just go, constantly writing, constantly producing, constantly thinking, not giving my brain time to shut off. And so while I really want to just dive right in to my next project, I do have some little things that have been put on hold or that I just haven't been able to work on. And so I'm trying to get those things wrapped up this week, like starting this weekend. But by next weekend, like hopefully by Friday, if not, then by next Sunday at the latest, I want to have all of those things wrapped up so that by next weekend, or by around Monday the 21st, I can start working on my next project. I want to get on to Independent Hearts 4. I want to get back to writing. I want to get back into a daily writing routine, because writing makes me happy. It does. But as with everything, right? All things in moderation. You can write too much. You can work too much. You can force yourself into a situation where you're overdoing it and you're burning yourself out creatively, mentally, emotionally, physically. And burnout can be dangerous. We don't talk about that enough, but burnout, the consequences of burnout can be really severe, and some of them can be almost permanent. There is part of me that just feels like it's been so many years and I still feel so burned out. And is it because I've just continued to try working at that same level? Or is it because I've actually broken something within me? And am I just always going to feel so tired? I really hope not. I really hope I haven't done permanent damage with the burnout that is partly, the burnout that I experienced in grad school was partly due to just the system and just what grad school is and what grad school does. I don't really know anyone who finishes a PhD and doesn't feel burned out. I really hope the future generations of grad students, you know, will finally crack the code and will benefit from hearing all of us old timers stories. I feel like there's so many more PhD students on YouTube in particular right now than there were when I first started my channel. When I first started, I was one of the few PhD students that I could find, and I was actively searching for them on YouTube. There were a lot more grad students on Instagram, but far fewer here on YouTube. We need more representation on this platform, and I feel like there are. I've started following a couple, and so now YouTube is recommending so many more, and I'm like, I don't really want to follow that many PhD channels, because there is a part of it that's slightly triggering. I won't lie, that's a topic for a separate vlog, but there are a lot more PhD students on YouTube now, which is amazing, because we need that. Like, current grad students need to be able to see themselves online, see themselves and other people who are going through similar experiences online. And so I'm really hoping that with a larger number of grad students showing their experience online, on Instagram, on YouTube, on, I'm sure, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I'm sure there's a bunch on there. I just hope that grad school can gradually stop being such a catalyst for burnout, because there are aspects of a PhD in particular that are just the perfect conditions for burnout. Like, there is something about just the whole system you're operating in that could absolutely lead to burnout. But a lot of my burnout was also caused by my own problematic work habits and my perfectionism and my type A personality and my feeling of I have to be as good as everyone else, not really realizing that everyone else is struggling just as much as I was. Like, there is no, it's not that like all the other grad students are perfect and you are the one failure in your program. Like, everyone needs breaks, everyone's allowed to take a break, and other grad students probably are, but there's such a really toxic mentality in the academy and in grad school of you have to constantly be working and you have to constantly be producing. And so people take breaks, but they don't talk about taking breaks. I think it's similar with writing as well. We see so many writing vlogs and so many author tube channels, and this is partly why I feel like I struggle with calling myself an author tuber. I feel like this is another separate video topic. So let me know if you want to hear more about any of these little tangents. But I feel like that's another issue I have, is so many author tubers and writing focused channels, the vlogs are always writing focused. It's always look at me writing, look at me producing, look at me making progress on my project, because that's what people want to tune in and watch, right? If we're watching a writing author related channel, we don't really want to watch them not writing or like doing something completely different. But I do think there's balance there. Like, I want to see and I want to hear us as a writing community, as a community of authors, whether we're published authors or aspiring authors, whatever, I want to see us talking more about taking time to rest and taking time to recharge. And that should be part of our content. Maybe it doesn't have to be all of our content, but demonstrating taking time to rest, taking time to take a break, should be part of what we're doing as vloggers and content creators. I feel like you can't expect your audience to do something that you are not doing yourself. And I would never tell you all that you have to write all day, every day, or that every spare minute of your time has to be filled up with writing or working on your project. Like, we're allowed to do other things. We're allowed to have other hobbies. We're allowed downtime, even though I'm only vlogging 2 days of my life. And so it would be easy for me to just only vlog the days that I am being really productive. I still like vlogging weekends like this where I'm actively trying not to be productive, because it's important that you see me taking breaks and that you're not just assuming and hoping that I'm taking a break. And so that's another part of what this in-between time, in between projects is about. Part of it is that right now I am doing a lot of social media work, a lot of marketing work, making a lot of marketing plans, doing a lot of strategizing and planning and organizing for how I'm going to move forward with the launch. But I also like taking time in between projects. Sometimes I dive right in, but I feel like I always struggle with that a little bit. So this time I'm trying to be more intentional about taking at least a couple weeks between like when I've uploaded the last book and when I start working on the next book, because otherwise I feel like right now I feel like my head is still so much in London with Across the Pond, and because I'm still thinking about Across the Pond from a marketing perspective, and I need to gradually start moving back towards Olsenburg and the world of independent hearts. I feel like while I'm still doing so much active planning for Across the Pond, it's better for me to just kind of take a step back from writing for the moment and read some other books, escape into some other fictional worlds, and just kind of relax and take time off. And then as we get closer to launch, I can start thinking, and as more of those plans for launch have been finalized and content has been created and batched and set aside and ready to go, I can start gradually working on the next Independent Hearts book, which I do want to talk more about that. And I want to talk more about the book that I'm currently reading. I need to finish it first, because the last clip last night, I showed the like front page or title page or whatever, the divider page for Act 4. I had intended on putting the book down and picking up with Act 4 today. I read Act 4. So I'm up to Act 5 now. So I'm down to the last section of the book. So I will finish it today. I will finish it earlier this afternoon than later this afternoon. So I will talk about that and a little bit more about Independent Hearts. But first, I want to go get some lunch and just have some cozy time on the couch, take a bit of a break after the work I've done this morning, and then I will dive back into reading. I'm so excited to finish reading this book. I am just so curious with where it's going and how it's going to end. Okay, I finished. This was so good. This was so good. I really enjoyed this. I don't know how to describe it. It's fantasy. It's almost like an anti-fairy tale, and one of the quotes in the front does say a gritty gothic anti-fairy tale. It's definitely got that like Victorian gothic mystery aspect to it, but it is set in the present day and our times, and it's fantasy, but it's like the magical creatures and monsters live among us. Don't know what to say that couldn't also be a spoiler, so I don't want to give too much away. So good. So yeah, if you're looking for something, I think this is the perfect time of year to read this too. This is a great October, November book in terms of the themes and stuff, and just the mood and the vibe of the book. Really enjoyed it. So I'm glad I read that. Glad I got to finish that this weekend. Now I need to find a new book to read. I don't know what I feel like reading next. I don't know if I want to stick with something kind of dark and gritty and gothic and like fantasy, or if I want to go for like a lighter, cozy mystery fantasy. If I want to step away from fantasy, if I want to do romance. I have no idea. I don't know what I feel like. But I did want to talk a little bit about projects, my projects, and kind of on the theme of resting and taking breaks. I was talking a little bit about how I do try to take time between uploading and publishing one book and diving full force into the next book. And I'm in this in-between space creatively where I'm starting to shift to like marketing and launch prep and stuff for Across the Pond 4. And I haven't yet started writing or getting back to writing Independent Hearts 4, but I am still thinking about it. I'm thinking about it a lot, and like I can tell like I'm ready to get back to it. But it really is important, just as it's kind of important, like sometimes I will, like I know exactly what book I want to read next. Like I'll finish a book and I'll know exactly what book I'm reading next and I will dive straight in. Other times some books end and I just need a moment. So I do this with writing, with reading, but also with writing. Like I just feel like I'm ready to get back to writing again, but I don't know that my brain is ready to switch back to Independent Hearts. And so I need to reacquaint myself with that world and with those characters and get back into it. And I think to be able to do that, I've needed some time away from Across the Pond and not thinking as much about those characters. And so focusing on the marketing and the launch plans kind of help. There have been times where literally the day after uploading a book, I'm starting to write the next one. And this time it's been interesting because I've not done that. And I have started the next book. I've started Across the Pond. I've started Independent Hearts 4. I've also started Across the Pond 5. Both of those are outlined. Both of those are ready to go. Independent Hearts 4 is going to be the next book that I work on and the next book to be published. But Across the Pond 5 is like really closely behind that. I'm realizing that I do kind of always want to be writing something because I miss writing. And so it has been hard because like I'm not yet ready to like dive back into that world, but I'm so ready to write. Like I probably would be moving on to the next project more quickly if the next project was Across the Pond 5, because my brain is still so much in London and with all of those characters. And so I feel like a big part of the struggle is that I'm switching series, and so it's getting my brain to shift from one series world to another. I'm excited to go back to Independent Hearts, but I do think this time around, even though it's already outlined, I think I'm up to chapter 3 as far as writing. I do think I need to spend some time next weekend probably, if I can get the project, the editing work I'm doing for my mom done. Then I think when I get back into Independent Hearts, I don't want to just dive back into writing. I want to take a few steps back, go back over the outline, do some more plot development, do some more character development. I'll probably do some writing as well and do both in tandem for a couple weeks. But yeah, for now, I need to rest. I need to get back to resting. So I'm gonna go lay down on the couch, watch some YouTube, scroll through my Kindle, scroll through the Libby app, see if I can pick my next read, and just enjoy the next several hours of what is left of this beautiful Sunday. It is getting later in the evening. I'm very relaxed on the couch at the moment, and I was almost falling asleep on the couch earlier before dinner, so felt like I should probably end the vlog just in case I get so tired that I fall asleep and forget to end the vlog. It's been such a lovely weekend, and like, it just feels so nice to know that I don't have work tomorrow. Like, to know that I've got the next 2 days where I don't have to worry about email, I don't have to grade papers, I don't have to do anything. And I am still trying to rest as much as possible, because there's this second half of the semester. This is always the difficulty of both fall break in the fall semester and spring break in the spring semester, is that second half of the semester always flies by at like 2 to 3 times the pace that the first half went, and the first half of this semester has gone by fast. So I'm legitimately terrified. And I know that I have so much to do the next 7 weeks. They're gonna go by fast. It's gonna go by so fast. But so far, this weekend has been lovely. Fall break has been fantastic. I am getting lots of rest. I'm feeling very relaxed and chilled out today. It's been great. I'm so glad that I got that book finished, because I really wanted to get that book finished. And I have picked another book that's kind of, I think, in a similar gothic vibe that this one had. I found this through the library. I had been looking through what has like just arrived at the library on the Libby app. Then I was looking at my Pinterest board. I have a Pinterest board that is just books to look up. So if I see a book as I'm scrolling that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, I add it to that board, and then eventually I go look it up and like add it to a TBR list or something. So I was looking through that, finding a lot of books, but a lot of them weren't available, so I've added a few things to my holds list, or I've added things to my virtual TBR shelf on the Libby app because I just wasn't in the mood for that book right now. Just couldn't find something, and I had narrowed it down to 2, and I was thinking, you know, it might be one of these 2. There was like what sounded like a kind of cozy romance set in a bookshop. I will read that at some point. And then another one that I will definitely read maybe next, or the one after next, but there was another one that I really do want to read that was available, so hopefully it's still available in like another week when I'm ready to read that one. And so I was down to those 2 and was thinking it'd be one of those 2, and then I thought, no, I'm kind of in the mood for a thriller. This one has put me in the mood for, you know, a thriller. So I went back to the main search page of the Libby app and I just searched thriller. I looked thriller, available now, ebook, on Kindle, adult or general fiction, so not young adult or anything like that, English. And it still narrowed it down to like just under 10,000 things. And I'm scrolling a bit, and none of them were sounding good. And then I landed on this one, Return to Wildcliff Heights. And this is the cover. And they were calling this, the description of it was basically, if you like Jane Eyre and the 13th Tale, like, give this one a try. And I'm like, well, I love Jane Eyre, and I really loved the 13th Tale. If you haven't read the 13th Tale, that is one of the few books where, as I was reading it, there was one point where I was literally afraid to turn the page, because I honestly thought whatever was about to happen was going to come through the page and get me. It's so well written. And it's by Diane Setterfield, I think. I used to have a physical copy and I don't anymore. I loaned it out to someone and I never got it back. And this is why I don't loan books anymore, especially favorite books. Yeah, oh, that book is so good. And So yeah, when this one had, so when this book that I just downloaded, just borrowed from the library, when it had both Jane Eyre and the 13th Tale as like books that have inspired this one and like vibes that this book has, I'm like, that's exactly what I want to read right now. And it is so rare. It is so rare that I find something that is exactly what I am wanting to read right now. Usually I'm such a mood reader, and sometimes it's just, I wish I wasn't. Because I will spend a whole night adding a million things to my TBR list that I want to read, but I just don't want to read them right now. I'm the same way with like watching stuff on TV. I will spend a whole evening going through all my streaming apps, adding a million things to my various lists on all these apps, and then I'll just end up watching Downton Abbey. Because there's nothing new that is what I'm feeling like in that moment. It's like, I want another show that's like Downton Abbey, but not Downton Abbey. Or I want another show that's like A Discovery of Witches, but is not Discovery of Witches. So it's like, I want another book that's like Jane Eyre or the 13th Tale. And I actually found one that apparently, so I'm trying to manage expectations. I'm trying to like lower expectations, but yeah, this one does sound really interesting, so hopefully it is as good as it sounds. So I will keep you all updated, but for now, I'm gonna get back on the couch and relax for a little while longer. It is 7:42, so yeah, I'm gonna watch a little bit more YouTube and then go get in bed. I have a doctor's appointment in the morning. I'm not looking forward to it. But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this vlog. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'd really appreciate both of those things. Let me know how you're doing. If you work in education in one way or another, or you're a student, do you get a fall break? If so, when? Otherwise, let me know what you all are doing. Let me know what you're reading. I haven't asked you all what you're reading in a little while, so what are you reading, or what's a book that you recently finished that you really enjoyed? I'm always looking for more things to add to my ever-expanding TBR list. Oh, and you can leave me some book emojis. Book or couch or just cozy. Leave me some cozy emojis to let me know which one of you lovely people have made it all the way to the end of this vlog, because you all are the real MVPs and I appreciate you greatly. And yeah, I will see you all very soon in the next vlog. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye!